God, I am so terribly, terribly sorry to be late. Did you get my message? I left a message with your service. Where's my chair? What have you done with the place? Oh, why, Dr. Rosenberg, you've redecorated. How marvelous. But God help me, I hope I'm not expected to lie down on that thing. You know how I feel about that. Oh, right. Well, I didn't see it tucked over there. Just one moment. Thank you. That's much better. Much better. So, what shall we talk about? You know, I should have been a psychiatrist. That's what I should have been. Seems like enormous fun, terrific pay for not much work at all. I mean, seriously, what do you do, really? I mean, you sit there, scratch a few notes on that pad, nod occasionally so as to give the impression of interest, or at least a lack of boredom. Although with me, I dare say you rarely bored. Or at least I expect you wouldn't be. I imagine. What with some of my stories, right? I don't know if you're bored or not. You're smiling slightly just now, which I must admit does suggest, well, it inspires just the tiniest spark of paranoia in me that maybe I do bore you from time to time. Oh, well, even if I did, so what? It's still an easy job. So you're a little bored from time to time, so what? At least I'd be paid to keep my mouth shut. And what a relief that would be. Everyone. I made you laugh. Good, he's alive, thank God. Oh, I would hate to find we'd been paying for a dead shrink. No, you're certainly not dead, are you? Oh, no. You're rather adorable, as a matter of fact. But that's nothing new. I've told you that before, and you've never responded. Don't worry, I'm not offended. It's not a pass, Doctor. It's just a compliment. No need to be afraid. I'm not going to rape you or even seduce you, because I know I can't. Which I suppose, in a way, is rather comforting, knowing that even if I were to strip down to my brassiere and panties right here in your office, the extent of your masculine reaction would probably amount to no more than a few extra scratchings on that little pad of yours. What are you writing, Possibly the word nymphomaniac. Oh, I wouldn't bother with you, Doc, though believe me, if I thought I could, I would have you in a flash right there on that ugly couch of yours. Oh, yes, I'm not ashamed. I have needs, feminine needs. Oh, I wish I could smoke, but I can't for at least two reasons, I guess. First, you don't allow smoking in your office, and second, she's given it up. Not altogether, though. I've taken to smoking these awful things. Have you ever heard of anything more ridiculous? A female cigar smoker. This way she doesn't inhale doctor's orders. You know, I know you're not supposed to tell me, and I'm really not supposed to ask, but I'm practically dying from curiosity about this whole thing. Oh, I know I'm not supposed to ask, but I'm sure whatever nasty things Kelly and Amanda come up with can't compare to the slander spewing forth from my husband's lips. Oh, you don't even have to answer, because I know, believe me, I know. I married that man, after all. Not that I really knew him when I married him, but I know him now. I have a confession to make, actually. Last week, I sort of neglected to mention something that, well, an event in our lives, in our marriage, you see. Something happened a couple of weeks ago on our holiday when we were in Paris, and, well, I didn't say anything about it. In fact, I tried hard to pretend it hadn't even happened during our entire session, and, well, I feel a bit foolish, really. Yes, well, on the way over here today I was thinking on it, feeling awfully guilty, and then I had the funniest thought about the whole thing, which was simply this, that part of the reason I hadn't said anything last week was out of some protective sense of loyalty to my husband, because it's rather awkward, you see, what happened. I really can't smoke. Sorry. And to protect Reggie's ego, I suppose. But then it dawned on me today, on the way over here just now, that he may very well have already shared the entire story in his session. So what am I so worried about? Isn't that silly? See? Well, has he? Or I know you can't, but you have to understand I put on a good act when it comes to these sorts of things, you know, being modern and sophisticated and all that. But the truth is, in many ways, I'm still a good little girl who didn't even know these things existed until I landed in TV land. Oh, I know, to look at me now, it's difficult to imagine it, but the word homosexual just didn't even enter into my vocabulary. Of course, I suppose they've told you I have a temper too. At least Reg has. Oh, he probably told you. I threw a vase at his head when I put the two of them together. I bet he did. Oh, well, maybe I did. So what? It was a cheap imitation Lalique knockoff anyway. Oh, the Ritz Paris is so nouveau cheap. Everything in the place is a knockoff. The point I'm trying to make is, after the dust settled, so to speak, we sat and talked, and we came to terms on this thing, this part of him that I had no idea, and believe me, I had no idea. Well, we came to terms, and we agreed, as I'm sure he told you, that for the sake of the children, the marriage must survive. So you see, we are rational adults, the two of us, quite capable of meeting our parental responsibilities, quite capable. Oh, I promised myself I wouldn't beg. I promised myself, and look at me, look at me. God, I need a cigarette. Oh, I loathe these things. You really are a charming man, you know that? You really do have the most comforting presence. I appreciate that in a man. So I imagine by now you've probably heard all about the little incident with the dinner plates, right? From every possible perspective, the whole silly thing, I've no doubt at all, has by now been thoroughly examined, blown way out of proportion, completely taken out of context, etc., etc. And so, you've surely taken sides. Or not. Oh, I'm sure it doesn't matter. You're a professional. But so am I, Dr. Rosenberg, so am I. One thing I can do, it is accurately read a face. And your face reads plain as day. You know what it says right now when you look at me? Guilty. Guilty as sin. Oh, well, tough luck. That's what the old girl says. Tough cookies. I don't really give a damn. I'm just a single solitary soul in this world, a poor unfortunate, a mother of three who had the bad luck to marry a boy instead of a man. And so, in addition to bringing home the bacon to feed, clothe, and shelter the five of us, I have the added bonus of complete parenting responsibility. Even though he's actually in the house most of the time. Well, all the time, really. While I'm slaving away at the studio. Oh, but our boy Reg, oh, he must court his muse. Oh, mustn't he? Changing diapers, giving baths, providing some guidance, some actual parenting through discipline. Well, he can't be distracted with such trivialities. Yes, yes, make a note, doctor. She uses the word discipline. I believe in discipline. My parents were Irish immigrants. Toil is in our blood. Ah, not a wasp. Surprise? This girl is Irish Catholic through and through, and proud of it. The idea that one little joke, as it were, could throw a person's life permanently off course is, well, it's a joke, I suppose. Laughable, really. Quite. I like saying quite like that. One-word sentences, I find them so attractive, don't you? Brevity. Most good writers, and I mean the truly gifted ones, not the television hacks, but the real ones, they understand that, the value in that. Less is more and all that. I bet you think I've had a pretty privileged life. That's because on the show, on the television show, they pay me 6 figures to play the part of the most eligible heiress, Monica Morell, but that isn't me. I don't know what Reg tells you, but Evelyn Beckett graduated high school without distinction, public high school, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I got out of Bridgeport, found my future husband wandering the stacks of the Sterling Memorial Library at Yale, and I was on my way to becoming a debutante in TV land. Monica Morell, a debutante in TV land, rubbing elbows with the creme de la creme, eating caviar, dancing till dawn. Ha! What a fantasy, what a fiction. The truth of Evelyn Beckett's life is she rises at 5 a.m., tiptoeing so as not to wake the children, all my children. She starts the coffee and the hard-boiled eggs. She sets 6 slices of appropriate bread beside the toaster, but does not toast. No, not yet, because it is only 5:15, and the children won't be down for at least another 2 hours, by which time Mommy will be well on her way through wardrobe and makeup and on set at CBS Studios, having made the 6:07 train to Grand Central. But that's okay, because Daddy can be counted on for some things. And toast, Doctor, toast is one of them. Toast he can handle. Oh, yes. My Reginald, he does do toast. What else does he do? Oh, well, gosh, no matter. He does do toast, and every man must have at least one thing at which he excels. Apart from the fact that it was so clearly meant as a harmless joke, which I think I may have already mentioned, apart from the humor in it, I was also coming off a 14-hour day with next to no sleep, barely any food in my system, and quite frankly, at moments like that, well, one can forget, momentarily, of course, forget one's obligations as a parent. You know, for instance, the obligation to behave in a rational and predictable manner. Dr. Spock, who, by the way, is a dear, dear friend, he tells us that a child needs consistency. In other words, if throwing a baseball inside the house is not allowed on Tuesday, well, then it damn well better be banned on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and weekends as well. Otherwise, in the absence of consistency, the child loses his moral compass. So truthfully, I can see how it might be confusing, even disruptive, if one day Mommy decides to overturn all the children's dinner plates, spilling their meals out onto the table. The point is, I turned over the kids' dinner plates as a joke, as a lark. It meant to be one of those randomly absurd, catch everyone off guard sort of grand gestures, the sort of flourish that would send the entire CBS commissary into convulsions. But unfortunately, in our case, in the case of my 3 children, I was met with stony silence. In fact, it was so quiet in that cramped and stuffy old kitchen that I could actually hear the drip, drip, drip of the gravy as it fell from the table down onto the kitchen floor. Drip, drip, drip. What are you writing now? Drip, drip, drip. Nobody laughed. Can you imagine? Nobody even cracked a smile, except me. Mommy thought it was absolutely the funniest move since... Oh, but Kelly and Amanda and Charlie, oh, they just sat there until Kelly broke the silence with some obnoxious adolescent question. What was it he said? Something very, very juvenile, something so very 14-year-old boy. Oh, yes, something like, precisely what are you trying to prove, mother? He loves calling me mother, though I've no doubt when he's in here with you, I'm just plain old mom. With me, it's always mother. I think he thinks it's a clever way of being condescending without me recognizing it as such. Something Reg taught him. Precisely what are you trying to prove, Mother? Have you ever heard of such? And this, of course, prompted poor little Charlie to start bawling, at which point Amanda stands up, excusing herself from the table by referring to her mother as a psychopath. I kid you not, a psychopath. I neglected to tell her that she had probably chosen the wrong word, that if she consulted a dictionary, she would discover her error. Isn't that right, Doctor? Well, no matter. My joke was an utter failure, and it caused me to recognize once and for all that my 3 children, my clever little rascals, had become, well, they were humorless. And to be humorless at age 10, or even 14, or 3, for God's sakes, well, I can't honestly think of a more depressing scenario. It's enough to cause even the best Catholic girl to drink. Oh, yes, I drink. We know I drink. We've certainly been through all of that. You have to understand, I started out a good person. The frustration of my circumstances, the difficulties I have had. Every other day, it seems, I am being accused of sleeping around. And you know, I never deny it. Never. Even though, you know, ever since we got back from our trip, these past 2 weeks have been, I find myself just staring at him, looking at that handsome, rugged, masculine face, and I think to myself, but how can it be? No, God, he can't be. He's so beautiful, so virile. He can't be that. No, not my Reg. He can't. I won't let him be. I'd rather kill myself than... But he is. And there's not a damn thing to be done about it. Sometimes I think I could kill myself. To punish him, of course. To make him feel... But then, what if I did? And he didn't even notice. That possibility that I might simply cease to exist and be completely erased, that's what keeps me on the road. What do you make of that, Doc? You fear for the old girl? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. No one, I mean no one, is ever going to take my children away from me. Do you understand? Everything I do, everything I have done, every insult I've endured, every injury to my soul, to my very being, I have taken it all for the sake of those 3 children. My God, do you honestly think I would have stayed in this proto-marriage were it not for them? As you know, Reginald and I haven't been a couple for a long time anyway. Even before my unfortunate discovery, there hadn't been much there in the physical sense. I stay with him in that house because I am determined to give those children something I never had. A complete family, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, baby bears. If, after all this effort, Reg were to listen to his mommy and actually divorce me, well, I can assure you, it wouldn't be Reg raising those children. Oh, no, sir. They'd be shipped straight off to boarding school. Those 2, his awful parents, they never accepted me, never. Oh, I wasn't good enough for their golden boy. Ha! If only they knew, if only they had seen what I have seen. Agnes, oh, she's a horrible person. Well, they're both really too terrible and sad. And they've always struck me as the most sad people I ever met. Really. Do you know that I am the only cast member on the entire show who doesn't live in the city? You know how much easier life would be for me if I did? It would mean about 4 extra hours of sleep a night. Multiply that by 5, that's 20. 20 hours of sleep a week, multiplied by 40 odd work weeks in the year. Well, you do the math. That's a lot of hours, my friend, a damn lot of hours. But I give them up gladly, just so the kids can grow up in fresh air and sunshine. Do you hear me complaining? Heck no, you'll get no whining out of Evelyn. She's a good girl, among the finest. Sometimes I just I just look at him, and seeing him, I suddenly, I feel myself overcome with a feeling. It's shameful, really. A feeling of, well, of simply wanting him. Just wanting him again. Just to look over at him, at the back of his head, gently bending towards some manuscript. I just sit there, studying his neck, delicate yet strong, the smooth skin that makes him look no more than 30. And a horrible longing washes over me. Suddenly, there in the silence, sitting alone with my husband, this man, and I look at him, keeping silent, of course, until I can almost feel the air around me being displaced by his breath from across the room. And I just breathe. My God, I know how this must sound, but I do. I just sit there and I just breathe it in. And I suppose in a way this becomes some sort of substitute, a way of having him inside me without touching. God, sometimes I think we'd both be better off dead. Isn't that awful? It's a terrible thing to admit, but sometimes when the fighting gets so bad, I just think, please, God, end this now, and I half expect a lightning bolt to shoot down out of the clear blue sky and kill us both. But then little Charlie will run into the bedroom with chocolate or ice cream dripping from his bright red lips. Oh my God, that boy has the most amazing cranberry-stained lips. I covet those lips. And I look at our boy, our happy accident, our little sunshine miracle, and all the anger, all the bitter resentments seem to melt away. That's what children can do, you know, if you let them. They can soften even the hardest among us. They are our light at the end of the tunnel, our hope, and we can't live without hope, now can we? You know, I almost canceled today because we've got an important function to attend this evening, and I may have to cut our appointment short today, but it's for a very, very good cause. Reginald is to be honored. Isn't that marvelous? And we mustn't be late. I'm sure you can imagine what it means to him and what it means to me to be there by his side in his hour of glory. You know, because of course these things mean so much more to him. Of course, it's especially thrilling for him because the award is being given by Penn, the literary guild, you know, and of course, as a television script writer, he tends to worry a lot about what other writers, you know, those who write literature, you know, solid literary figures. Well, not that Reg isn't himself in his own way, a sort of literary genius, but well, you know what I mean. He worries what they might think of him, and of course, it can't be easy for him having a wife who's so very, very much in the spotlight, so very much of the time. But tonight I will be, as I have maybe never been before, Reginald's wife, standing by her man, and I will be glorious. Oh my God, will you look at the time? I've got to dash. Oh my God, I've got to get moving. I've got a million errands to run before tonight, not the least of which will be my hair, my war-torn hair. So forgive me, doctor, but I simply must run, or else my hairdresser will kill me. And I'm not joking. He's a Latin and hot-tempered as they come. Oh, Murdered by Manuel. Sounds like a paperback novel, doesn't it? Murdered by Manuel. Too tragic. Oh, God, I'm terrible. Oh, I would certainly hate to see the things you probably scribble about me in that little pad of yours. Oh, well, to be continued, I suppose. You know, I hope you don't mind my saying this, but I do believe this may be the first time I can honestly say you've made me feel better. Yes, I'm sure I do. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, really. Ciao.
Excellent. Woo!